Hi everyone, and welcome to our 2021 Pride podcast. I've actually been really excited to do this. So first of all, happy Pride to you. And this is an opportunity really to bring awareness to the amazing accomplishments that people in the community have achieved, as well as acknowledge, of course, those times when the community has faced prosecution and discrimination. So I'm Sean Walker, a volunteer at Volunteering Matters, and as a charity we are grounded on the belief that people are most effective when we stay open and flexible and understand the needs of other people when coming together to collaborate on different things such as this project really. And these projects aim to deliver change, and these core beliefs, you could say, run in parallel with the LGBT plus communities across the globe. So we hope that this small gesture can perhaps educate and inspire people who are listening and lead towards a positive outcome. I once heard a quote by Andrew Chekhov: "Knowledge is of no value unless you put it into practice." So I'm thrilled to say that today I'm joined by Emma Thomas-Hancock, Kyle McFadden and James Donnelly, all of whom work, of course, at Volunteering Matters. So guys, thank you for giving up your time and coming on. I'm going to kick things off by just saying Happy Pride.
Yeah, Happy Pride.
Happy Pride Month to you as well, Sean.
Yeah, absolutely. Happy Pride to you as well. It's weird because I feel like the month literally just started and we're nearly a little over halfway done already, which is insane.
No, I know it comes around quick, doesn't it? But of course, the past year has been quite different. But in normal circumstances, are you guys avid goers to Pride events?
Yes, definitely. I have always gone to Pride events. It was a big part of my kind of coming out in the early days and kind of establishing myself.
Oh, okay, Emma, so you can give us your knowledge and understanding of the old school Pride events. Who's next? What about you, Kyle?
I've only gone to 2 Prides in my life, but my first Pride was actually in Edinburgh. Both were Edinburgh.
Okay, I've never been to the ones in Scotland. I'm assuming you've been to the ones in Scotland, James?
I'll always pop by the one in Glasgow, and I like the idea of the sort of bigger events sort of elsewhere. I've been able to go to the Brighton Pride.
Oh, of course, Brighton Pride.
Yeah, well, I'm actually in Brighton. And when I first moved to Brighton 20 years ago, it was a community event. I mean, Pride has changed quite a lot over the years. So when I was in my early 20s, Pride in London was much more about the march. And then a kind of, sometimes on Clapham Common, sometimes in Finsbury Park, but never something that you had to buy tickets for, or never anything like the big headliners were like Peter Tatchfield and people talking, and Jimmy Somerville and that kind of thing. It was never the kind of big like Kylie.
Well, I was just looking now at the headliners for Brighton Pride, and they've had huge acts. I mean, in 2018, they had Britney Spears and Jess Glynn, and those were only the headline acts. In 2019, they had Kylie Minogue, Jessie J and Grace Jones. And then, of course, last year in 2020, which didn't go ahead, they were meant to have Mariah Carey and the Pussycat Dolls.
Yeah, the last one, I went to the last one, actually, the party one, and it was Kylie. But before Kylie, it was like the ABBA tribute band, and there's somebody else as well, which I can remember. There was a lot of really quite big headliners, and amazing music, as well as all of the other things.
Oh, do you know what? I've never done Brighton Pride. I'm going to have to go one year.
I was over in Sydney for a while and happened to catch Mardi Gras there as well. So those
Sydney
two
Pride
particularly stand out for me as good memories. But, the Glasgow one's always good fun, and you see a lot of people that you know. And yeah, I think it's important to go out when you can to kind of go celebrate it and to go sort of have some visibility.
No, I agree. And has any of you guys got a preference of what you actually do at Pride? For example, I'm a huge fan of being part of the parade and walking through the streets when they've closed everything off and you've got the music and such a big adrenaline rush. Well, for me it is anyway. And of course, yeah, you've got the nightlife and the drag acts and singers and etc. But I really love the feeling that you get of actually just being in the parade. And of course, we've got to recognise that that's how, Pride started with the parade and the marches through the cities.
Yeah, I love the parade, and I love the mixture of just sheer joy and celebration.
For me, it's more of a moment of dedication to the history of Pride, and just recognizing how it started. And it's just a really liberating feeling. And kind of as you were talking about, the parade being one of your favorite moments, I kind of feel I enjoy that part as well over anything else, really, because the acts are there throughout the year, the nightlife is always there throughout the year, but the Pride March itself, it's one of the few times when you feel the energy level. You can kind of feel it. It's like a wavelength and just the liberation. And then also seeing, I think it's really special seeing also families, walking in Pride. That's the part that gives me like a really high serotonin feel, as I like to call.
It's the variety of it as well, isn't it? When you go, it's the variety of
definitely
people who are there for different reasons.
And I know exactly what you mean by that adrenaline rush that you get from just marching or seeing the Pride. There's no feeling quite like it, to be honest. And I particularly remember being part of the parade at Swansea Pride in 2019. And a couple of my friends were attendees of a local church, and they'd recently registered for same-sex marriage. So the whole church decided that it would be an opportunity to promote this fabulous registration, and we were all part of the parade, and everyone wore wedding outfits. But in all my wisdom and glory, I decided to turn up dressed with these huge angel wings, which were fabulous at the time. I mean, the wind nearly took me away a few times, and there I was at the front of them, leading them all through the march, which I kind of just decided to do at a whim, because I already spoke to them and asked if I could be the angel coming down from heaven to bless the wedding. So that was my method in my madness for that one. But yeah, that's one that stands out for me personally anyway.
That sounds amazing.
I remember actually saying to them at the end of the day, "You were all the wind beneath my wings today."
That is great.
Literally go big or go home, isn't it?
Exactly, James, exactly. Now, there are times at Pride that people turn up in opposition to the idea of Pride and create signs and are there to make a statement. I recently saw something on TikTok which a lot of children and young teens actually saw and were talking about recently during Pride Month. And one person on TikTok was quite clear in their statement, saying they thought it was unfair that soldiers get 2 minutes. That's, I'm assuming, the 2-minute silence that we use to remember who fought in the war, but gay people get a month.
Yeah, I don't know why when there's two good things they have to be in competition with each other. I don't get that.
Yeah, it's a difficult one, because obviously it's very important to recognise the people that have died during war, but I don't think they are comparable. I mean, you could argue that there were probably, most definitely, people within the LGBT community that fought in the war for a start. But during Pride, we're celebrating, how far we've come and our progress. And of course, also to just have an excuse to have a party. But we don't stay silent for a month, do we? It'd be very hard for me to, anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, same here. And I do wonder as well, I'm sure I was reading up recently, I may even have seen a little bit of what you were saying there, Sean. I think there is actually a Veterans Month somewhere, and I always feel like the people who are shouting out about this, isn't it? They tend not to really look up and check these things before they speak out.
I know, and then you've just got these people taking it as face value then.
That is somewhat of the, I guess, side that people individually have to be cautious on, when it comes to Pride, if there are people who choose hate and ignorance. And actually, in my second Pride in Edinburgh, there was a man who was holding a sign that was religious, and he clearly was there to choose and spread hate. And people were, so when we were marching, we kind of heard some booing at first, and then I thought, oh God, what is this? And then as it got closer, I could see people were booing this man. In those moments, sometimes, at Pride, the overall collective group can turn that around and just make a joke out of it and not let that ruin the mood and vibe. But in terms of the TikTok, yeah, it's unfortunate that people choose, social media platforms to just spread their ignorance.
And every time I'm at a Pride event, I genuinely feel so proud how far the UK has come in its progress towards the LGBT community and equality. It's easy to forget sometimes that there are 71 countries that do criminalise LGBT people. And there's actually 11 countries where being gay is actually the death penalty.
One of the things that I remember really vividly about Pride, taking my daughters, and, because they've got two mums and they were little at the time, all of our conversations about being gay was all really positive. And we took them to one Pride, and there was one of the floats just from one of the community organisations was highlighting the plight of gay people that live in Africa. They were all in coffins, and it was all really sad, and all the music stopped as they got to their bit, and it was just very quiet, and they had kind of tears painted on their face and that kind of stuff. And I remember, and you couldn't help but kind of fear of it. And I remember one of my daughters saying to me, why are people in coffins? Why are people sad? And then I had that conversation with her about, well, there are some people in the world that don't think it's a good thing. It was part of, my responsibility as their parents to kind of educate them in all kinds of areas of life.
Gosh, that does sound very powerful, to be honest with you, Emma. There are 81 countries as of December 2020 that have laws against discrimination in the workplace on the basis of sexual orientation. So that does mean slowly but surely there are countries that are moving towards the right direction. Well, we hope so. And this is the reason we have Pride, isn't it?
Looking back when you are younger at your first Pride and seeing sort of other people, that visibility, people who are being them true selves, I guess, and that's so important. I don't think you can lose that.
So guys, I've got a question for you. It's not the easiest to answer, but do you three have an almighty Pride anthem?
That is very hard.
That is a toughie. I'm trying to think of what song that feels like Pride. What have you done today to make you feel proud? M People. It's M People.
M People.
That one by M People and Heather Smalls.
Oh, that's a good one.
What would be I think my favourite song ever is I Am What I Am. I love that.
Oh, it's Shirley Bassey, of course.
For me, I can't really narrow it down to one song in particular, but I'll give you a top three.
Okay, go for it.
Okay, well, I would say in general, though, it's Britney Spears. Songs by Britney Spears are always my Pride song each year. From the time I was really, really young, anytime that I was teased or bullied for being my authentic self, and I would listen to my Britney albums, and I would just feel so empowered. Number two would probably be Hit Me Baby One More Time. And number three would probably be off her Femme Fatale album, and that's Dance Until the World Ends.
Oh, I loved that song, and I really loved the Femme Fatale album. I thought it was fantastic. It had some really good songs on there. But I can totally identify with the whole having a sort of an icon that you really have loved to listen to. My one was Cascada, if you remember Cascada.
Oh, and Cascada's the one that does the Every Time We Touch song, right?
Yeah, that's the one.
Amazing.
Yeah, she is amazing. Thank you, Kyle. But at Pride, we always do hear those iconic songs every year, and for good reason. You've got I Will Survive by Gloria Gaynor, I'm Coming Out by Diana Ross. What else have we got? I Wanna Dance With Somebody by Whitney Houston, The YMCA by The Village People. And this year, to help celebrate the launch of Virgin Radio Pride UK, they held a public vote for the ultimate Pride anthem. So I'm just looking here at the top 20 songs that were voted the best Pride song. And the Whitney Houston song that I just mentioned, I Wanna Dance With Somebody, is number 18. The other one that I just mentioned by Diana Ross, I'm Coming Out, is number 14. Then you've got others then. One for you, Kyle. Stronger by Britney Spears is number 9. And of course, the top 5 then. Spice Girls, Spice Up Your Life is number 5. Number 4, Lady Gaga, Born This Way. Number 3 is Tragedy by Steps. Number 2 is Beautiful by Christina Aguilera. And the number 1 song is A Little Respect by Erasure.
Yeah, I know that song. Yeah, that's appropriate.
It's an iconic one, isn't it? And then in 2018, the one that won that year was This Is Me by The Greatest Showman.
I can see that.
And I really like that one, I've got to be honest.
Although I don't really like that movie, but I know, don't get me started on the movie.
I mean, I think it's fair to say that the songs were a lot better than the actual storyline itself.
Absolutely.
But now we've talked about Pride songs. Have any of you guys got any favourite Pride films? I mean, there is actually one called Pride. I don't know if anyone's seen that.
Well, I was going to say, I love Pride. And it's one of those things that I watch, like when you feel like, and it's quite sad, isn't it, in some places, but I love that film. I love the community. I have lots of family and friends have a great love for Wales, and I recognise so much of that kind of community. I love the film Pride. I absolutely love it.
I've seen the trailer for it and it looks brilliant.
Oh, honestly, Kyle, you will really enjoy it. It's definitely worth a watch. Has any of you guys seen, it's not a film, it's a series, but it's called It's a Sin?
Yes, and for me, that is the content we need, because I can't think of any other show that I've seen that has really paid tribute and shed a light on the AIDS epidemic and what it did.
And also what I found, obviously in the 80s, they weren't really sure about how HIV was transmitted. And you saw different people cleaning and becoming a bit obsessive about touching things. But as we were watching it, we were in our own pandemic and doing the same thing, just, with a different virus, with coronavirus.
It was definitely surreal. And that was, there were some really heavy parts, but it needed to be, it was important. And I was also saying that, I'm sure it must be very cathartic for those in the community that, lived through that are still here with us, who have lost lots of friends and family.
And what I think was so good that the show achieved to do, they made you appreciate that friendship group, which obviously made it so sad when they were all starting to die. But when I watched It's a Sin, I felt I was part of that friendship group, as if I wanted to, set up a little WhatsApp group and see how they all were. And
yeah, I did. You feel like you kind of know them as well.
Yeah, and you can definitely feel that kind of oppression that they were faced with.
You can, yeah. And going to get a mortgage. Me and Beth got our first mortgage in 1996, and we had a really similar experience actually. And so I remember that. And I remember, I think the very first Pride I went to, and we were on Clapham Common, and it was just before the Labour government, they got elected in 1997, and there was a lot of kind of, Ken Livingstone was there, and there was a lot of kind of Labour people talking. I remember Ken Livingstone saying, and one day gay people will be able to get legally married. And I remember looking at Beth and saying, that's never going to happen. And we've now had 3 weddings.
And this is exactly what Pride is all about to me. Celebrating how far we've come, yet acknowledging the trials and tribulations that people within the past have gone through and have fought for us to celebrate this kind of diversity. What about you, James? Have you got any favourite Pride films?
Quite often I feel though that they're quite soppy or quite sad, or they focus on and one I watched quite recently that I really enjoyed, which was just a really light-hearted film, was the Love, Simon film. Have you seen that one? Kind of like teenage sort of rom-com-esque, and it was a lot of fun. It was actually really enjoyable, so that's my recommendation. It's if you want a sort of a bit of a laugh, and there's a little kind of moment to cry at some point, of course, but by and large I really enjoyed that and kind of left sort of finished the film feeling quite happy.
Well, there you go. To all our listeners, some recommendations there of Pride films and series. It's a Sin, of course, being a series on Channel 4. Now, before we go, Kyle, could you tell me about the LGBT network that you help run and coordinate at Volunteering Matters?
Yes, absolutely. So at Volunteering Matters, towards kind of last summer, so almost about a year now, the network decided that we needed to have more diversity, inclusion, because, our staff, there are so many different walks of life and so many different people. So one of the networks that was created was the Pride Network. Any kind of issues that relate to LGBTQ employees, we're just chatting, amongst colleagues and having a bit of a chat, but just ultimately being a safe space within the organization to connect with others who kind of get those unique circumstances and challenges that we experience inside and outside our professional lives.
Well, Kyle, it sounds like you're doing a fantastic job. Keep it up. You're definitely making a positive impact to people's lives. Guys, I'm going to wrap it up there. Thank you ever so much to you, Kyle, James and Emma, for coming on the show. I've thoroughly enjoyed your company. So whatever you do this year, celebrate Pride with style.
Oh, no, thank you. I've been really loved it. It's been great. Thanks for inviting me to be part of it.
Yeah, I had so much fun chatting with you.
Well, take care, guys. Until next time.
Bye. Bye.
Bye for now. Bye-bye.
So a big thank you to you, the listener, for staying with us right to the end of this podcast. Take care.